his name is Itto, and this is my dog. And his name is pronounced Itto, not Etto. It's Itto. Well, I basically named him after my favorite video game character. Yep, I named him after my favorite video game character, which my parents and friends were not really thrilled about. But honestly, it's still better than the first name that I came up with, Scaramouche. So I guess we all won. Anyways, here's the thing about Itto. When I first saw him, I was invited to my school as a guest of honor. And when I saw him, he saw me, and I was like, yeah, you're coming home with me. But here's the thing about him. Itto is scared of everything. Squeaky toys, oh, he finds that terrifying. The wet, absolutely not. And medicine, that's just betrayal. And jumping off the couch, that's like a life-threatening decision for Itto. So I asked the vet a very simple question. I said, why is Itto literally afraid of everything? And he said something very simple. Since Itto is a stray, he's more prone to fear, because fear is what helped him survive. It's basically in his genetics. And that got me thinking. I mean, how many of us here are afraid of something? Raise your hands. Afraid of the dark? Well, fear of unknown, fear of failure, fear of lizards, fear of bats, fear of that one WhatsApp message that just says, hey, can we talk? With no context behind it. Like, why would you do that? Yeah, that one is personal. I mean, standing here today, I can feel my hands slightly shaking, my legs feel a little weak, and this isn't even my first time speaking. But the nervousness, it never really fully goes away. Unless, of course, you're that one girl in every horror movie that hears the sound of the ghost and goes, hello, and just walks straight towards it. Congratulations, you might be fearless. But the rest of us, we're all afraid. I remember during Miss Universe India, there was this one girl that asked me a question, and she said, Kashvi, what would you do without your fears? I mean, who would you be without your fears? And I remember looking at her and just simply saying nothing. I mean, think about it, right? If we didn't have any fears, would we have any purpose? One of my favorite philosophers, Epictetus, that I love, he's a Stoic philosopher, and he said something very interesting about the Greek mythology of Hercules. And he said, if Hercules had no one to fight, no hydra, no boar, no monsters, no lion, Hercules wouldn't have been Hercules. There wouldn't have been any danger, no purpose for him to go out there and put himself out and challenge himself every day. He would have just been comfortable, safe, and ordinary. And honestly, even think about it for a second. Even superheroes, for example, like Spider-Man, if Spider-Man had no villains to fight at all, what would he have done? He would have just been a random guy in pajamas climbing walls for no reason, and that would have been kind of creepy, honestly. Even anime gets this. There's this one anime called One Punch Man that I really love, and in that, the main character is literally depressed because there's no purpose for him. Nothing challenges him anymore. He's not afraid of anything. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, no fear, no purpose. So what is fear really? Well, let me just get this clear. Fear is not weakness. Fear is not failure. Fear is information. Like, for example, let me just pull up this slide super quick. Now, you're confused, I'm confused, and everyone's confused. I mean, after looking at the slide, I'm sure that our brain just went, yeah, no, I'm not processing that. That's way too much information. And that reaction actually took place in this part of the brain called the amygdala. So let me actually show you a slide that your brain might like. Yep, this is much better. So, the fear lives in a part of your brain called the amygdala. Amygdala lies deep inside the brain, and it's almond-shaped. And its job is actually very simple. It protects you and keeps you alive. It scans the environment and asks one question. Is there any threat? If the answer is yes, then it triggers the fight or flight response. And that's when we can actually feel the fear starting inside of us. Our muscles tense up, our breathing gets fast, and our vision gets blurry. Everything just seems so scary. Actually, this system was evolved to protect us from predators, heights, fire, and danger. It's what helped our ancestors live for a very long time. And if we didn't have this, to be honest, we would just be walking into traffic and stepping off of rooftops like it's a personality trait. However, here's the thing. The amygdala doesn't actually know the difference between a microphone and, well, a tiger. So let's say you're about to try something new or you're learning something new, your brain actually starts reacting before thinking. So fear actually happens before thinking. And the hippocampus that's right next to the amygdala is known as the memory center. Once when something scares you, for example, you're actually more likely to not do the same thing again because your brain says, I don't want to do this, this is scary. And that is called fear conditioning. So fear, instead of protecting us, it starts limiting us at some point. So then the question arises, what do we do with it? Well, it's simple. First of all, stop judging your fear. Fear isn't your enemy. It is actually just data. Ask it questions. Where am I feeling this in my body right now? Is there actually danger, or is it just discomfort? Is there an actual threat near me, or has this happened to me before, and maybe that's why I'm responding this way? You see, Carl Jung once said that judging is easier compared to understanding. But we must try to understand our fear, because courage isn't the absence of fear, but courage is the movement with fear. And people often think I'm fearless. Even as I'm standing here today, I'm sure that there's someone out there thinking, wow, she can speak so well. But the truth is, I wasn't always like this. This was me when I was younger, actually 2 years ago. And I was really afraid. I had a stutter, and because of that, I was very embarrassed. I hated going on stage and giving any kind of public talking or maybe just engaging with people, because I used to think that the moment I start stuttering, I would hear someone laugh, and that would just scare me. So I avoided it. But later, I started realizing that maybe I should just give it a try. So I went for MUNs, I went for different public speaking activities, and every single time I put myself out there again and again and again, fear lost a little bit of its control. It's the same thing with NEET. When I was about to write NEET the day before, I was terrified. I didn't want to write it, and I told my mom that maybe this is not the best time. However, I still went and I did it anyway. Same thing with pageantry again. When I was about to join for Miss Universe India, a lot of people had a lot of judgment, and they told me that I wouldn't make it because medicine and pageantry didn't exactly fit into the same box. However, I still did it, and well, here I am today. And I recently discovered this again with running. I used to be terrified of running. I mean, I'm not the kind of person that likes sports at all. And I used to think that if I could run, then I would just fail, fall, and look stupid. And frankly, I just avoided it. However, recently, there's been a friend of mine who's been encouraging me to go run. And the thing with him is that he's a professional runner. He can run for 16 kilometers straight and just call it a short afternoon run. So I was like, should I actually take advice from you? However, after a while, I started actually putting myself out there, and I thought, okay, you know what? I'll do this. And I ran for a minute, then I stopped, and then I ran for another minute, and then I stopped, and I kept doing it until I can actually run for 20 minutes straight now. And that's a big thing for me. And I even got invited as a chief guest for a 10-kilometer race. And that was everything, because a girl who once felt afraid of something is now using the same thing as her superpower and her strength. And to be honest, yeah, so now this is me, but it took me a long time to get here. I remember thinking that if I'm afraid of something, the only way that I could ever conquer it was just to completely avoid it. You see, fear didn't mean that I was incapable. Fear just meant that I didn't know that yet. Your brain, when it sees new information or when it's about to do something new, like for example, change a career, chase a dream, or do something unconventional, for example, it doesn't get scared because it knows that it can't do it, but because it's never experienced the same thing before. So what I encourage everybody here to do today is to really pick something up and challenge yourself and keep doing it every single day, because with repeated exposure, this fear can actually soften, and that's actually called as neuroplasticity. your fear can actually rewire into confidence. I remember my best friend, Akila, she recently told me once when I told her that I wanted to take this topic up, she said, well, that's kind of weird because my fear makes me hate myself. And I asked her why. And she said, because it reminds me of the things that I can't do. And I told her this, your fear doesn't mean that you're incapable. Your fear actually shows you how much you care about the certain thing. It points directly at meaning. Your fear is the sharpest definition of yourself. It shows you your edges, your values, your potential. So value your fear, honor it. And before I end this talk, I want to do something very small with you all. You don't have to do this, but it would be much preferable if you close your eyes and do this with me. I want you all to think about something or that one conflict that you've been avoiding for a very long time. And I want you to feel that sensation, that tightness, that hesitation. Yeah, that's fear. And don't run away from it. Look at it, validate it like you would talk to a small child. It's fine. I feel you, I hear you. Don't judge it, don't argue with it. Listen to it and ask it what it's asking you to stop yourself from doing. Because fear isn't here to stop you. It's here to show you where your life is asking you to grow. I remember during every single interview, people always ask me the same question. They said, Kashvi, what do you do when you feel afraid? Or do you wish that you didn't feel that kind of fear whenever you step onto these kind of public platforms? And I remember looking at them and saying, I do things because I am afraid. Fear has made me sharper, braver, and it's made me feel so much more alive. I know myself truly because of my fears. And I always, always thank my fear. Fear is my best friend, and maybe you can let it be yours too. Thank you.